In a vibrant village nestled by the riverbank, two young girls, Lami and Adah, were known far and wide for their unbreakable bond. From the moment they could walk, they were inseparable. Whether it was fetching water from the clear, bubbling stream, dancing with joy during the village festivals, or whispering secrets under the moonlit sky, Lami and Adah were always together. Their laughter echoed through the village, and their friendship was the envy of many. Lami, with her sharp wit and quick thinking, had a natural ability to solve any problem that came her way. She was admired for her intelligence and resourcefulness, always finding clever solutions whenever the villagers needed help. Adah, on the other hand, was known for her beauty and kindness. With her radiant smile and gentle heart, she had a way of bringing warmth and joy wherever she went. While Lami was the mind of their duo, Adah was the soul, and together they complemented each other perfectly. As the years passed, the two girls grew into young women, their bond seemingly unshaken. However, life had a way of changing things. One fateful day, during a grand village celebration, King Obi, the young and respected ruler of the land, visited the festival. He was a man of great strength, with a voice that commanded respect and eyes that held both power and warmth. As he watched the villagers dance and celebrate, his gaze fell upon Adah. In that moment, something stirred within him, an undeniable admiration, a deep longing. Struck by her beauty and grace, King Obi wasted no time. That very evening, he approached Adah's family with a royal proposal. He wished to make Adah his queen. The news spread like wildfire across the village, bringing both excitement and pride to her family. Adah, though surprised, felt honored and accepted the proposal. Soon, the entire village rejoiced, celebrating the union between their beloved Adah and their mighty king. Lami stood by Adah's side through it all, smiling and offering words of support. But deep within, something shifted. A strange, unsettling feeling began to take root in her heart. At first, she ignored it, telling herself she was happy for her dear friend. But as the days passed, and she saw Adah walking through the village in her royal robes, hand in hand with the king, a dark whisper crept into her thoughts. Why her? Why not me? The happiness that once bound Lami to Adah now felt like a heavy chain of resentment. Every time she visited the palace, she forced a smile, hiding the storm raging inside her. The sight of Adah laughing with her husband, glowing with joy, gnawed at her. The bond that had once been unbreakable began to crack under the weight of envy. And so, the seed of jealousy was planted, a seed that would soon grow into something far more dangerous than anyone could have foreseen. Lami tried to suppress the feelings of jealousy that gnawed at her heart, but the more she saw Adah basking in the happiness of her new life, the more the envy consumed her. The palace, the wealth, the admiration of the people, everything she had ever dreamed of, now belonged to her best friend. At night, she lay awake in her small hut, staring at the thatched roof, tormented by the thought that Adah had everything while she had nothing. The whispers in her mind grew louder. If she were gone, I could take her place. At first, Lami pushed the thought away, ashamed of what she was thinking. But the idea refused to leave her. It clung to her like a shadow, growing darker and heavier with each passing day. She remembered the stories the elders told, the tales of a powerful old woman who lived deep in the forest, a sorceress who could grant any wish for a price. Desperation overtook her reason. If she could not win the king's love naturally, perhaps she could change fate itself. Before the break of dawn, Lami left her hut and made her way into the dense forest. The path was unfamiliar, the trees towering above her like ancient guardians, their twisted branches blocking out the morning light. Strange sounds surrounded her, the eerie hoot of an owl, the rustling of unseen creatures in the underbrush. But Lami pressed on, driven by the fire of her desire. After what felt like hours, she finally reached a small, crooked hut made of sticks and leaves. A strange green smoke curled from its chimney, carrying an acrid, bitter scent. Seated outside, stirring a bubbling pot of thick, dark liquid, was the old woman. Her tangled gray hair hung in long, matted strands, and her piercing eyes seemed to look straight into Lami's soul. "What brings you here, child?" the woman asked, her voice both sharp and knowing. Lami hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward. "I want my friend gone," she said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I want to take her place as queen." The old woman narrowed her eyes. "That is a dark wish," she murmured. "Are you ready for the consequences?" "Yes," Lami said without hesitation. "I'll do whatever it takes." A slow, crooked smile spread across the woman's face. She reached inside her hut and pulled out a small bottle filled with a thick green liquid. "Give this to your friend," she instructed. "She will drink it and she will become something harmless, something no one will ever think about again." Lami's breath hitched. What will she turn into? The old woman chuckled, her voice like dry leaves in the wind. "A fish," she said. "She will live in the river, far from the palace. No one will know." Lami clutched the bottle tightly, her pulse racing. This was it, her chance. As she hurried back to the village, her mind swirled with anticipation. In just a few days, Adah would be gone forever, and Lami would finally take her place. The betrayal had begun. Lami wasted no time in putting her plan into action. She invited Adah to her hut, her smile as warm as ever, masking the dark intentions hidden beneath. "I made something special for you," Lami said, handing Adah a wooden cup filled with the green liquid. "It's a drink to give you strength and happiness." Adah, trusting her friend completely, smiled. "You're always so thoughtful, Lami." "Thank you." Without hesitation, she lifted the cup to her lips and drank. The effect was instant. Adah's body shuddered, her vision blurred, and before she could understand what was happening, her arms disappeared. Her legs merged into a long, shimmering tail, and in mere moments, she had transformed into a small golden fish. She flopped helplessly on the ground, her once bright eyes now filled with silent terror. Lami picked up the fish, her heart pounding with exhilaration. She had done it. Adah was no more. "Goodbye, my friend," she whispered. Carrying the fish to the river, she knelt by the water's edge and, with a final smirk, tossed Adah into the flowing stream. "Now, King Obi will forget about you, and I will take your place." With Adah gone, Lami wasted no time inserting herself into the palace. She frequently visited King Obi, pretending to grieve alongside him, offering comfort in his time of loss. "My king," she would say softly, placing a gentle hand on his arm. "I know you miss Adah, but life must go on. The villagers need a strong leader, and you must find happiness again." But no matter how kind and supportive she pretended to be, Obi remained distant. His heart was still heavy with grief, and though he tried to lead his people, his nights were haunted by dreams. Each time he closed his eyes, he saw Adah standing by the riverbank, her face sad, her voice calling his name. "Obi, I am here. I need your help." The dreams became more vivid with each passing night. At first, he dismissed them as mere illusions of sorrow, but soon they felt too real to ignore. He began to believe that Adah was trying to reach him from beyond, that perhaps she had not simply vanished, but something terrible had happened to her. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, fate took an unexpected turn. A poor widow named Na lived with her young daughter, Cassie. Life had been hard for them, and every day was a struggle to find enough food. One morning, as Na went to the river to fetch water, she prayed softly, "God, please provide for us." Even one blessing could change everything. She filled her clay pot and carefully balanced it on her head, making her way home. But as she poured the water into a basin, something unexpected happened. A golden fish slid out and flopped gently at the edge. Na gasped. She had heard the legends of the golden fish, a rare creature said to appear only once every 10 years, something so valuable that merchants and noblemen would pay a fortune for it. Her heart pounded with excitement. "Cassie," she called, her voice trembling. "Come quickly." Cassie ran into the room, eyes widening at the sight of the shimmering fish. "Mama, is that?" "Yes," Na whispered. This could change everything. Little did they know, the fish they had found was not an ordinary fish at all. It was Adah, still trapped in her cursed form, waiting for the moment when someone would finally hear her silent plea for help. Na could hardly believe her luck. The golden fish was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its shimmering scales reflected the dim light, almost glowing with a life of their own. She had heard stories of such a creature, a rare and magical fish that appeared once in a decade, rumored to bring immense wealth to those who caught it. If she sold it, she and Cassie would never go hungry again. Excitedly, she turned to her daughter. "Cassie, do you know what this means? We will never struggle again. We can sell this fish and live a better life." Cassie clapped her hands in excitement at first, imagining a future without hunger or hardship. But as the evening wore on, she found herself staring at the fish in the clay basin, a strange feeling creeping into her heart. Unlike other fish, it did not thrash about helplessly. Its movements were slow, deliberate, as if it were thinking. That night, Cassie couldn't sleep. She felt a strange pull toward the fish, as though it was trying to tell her something. Unable to ignore the feeling, she crept out of bed, lit a small lamp, and knelt beside the bowl. "If you are more than just a fish," she whispered, "give me a sign." For a moment, nothing happened. But then the water in the bowl rippled, even though there was no wind. Cassie's breath hitched as she leaned closer. Suddenly, she heard a faint voice, soft but unmistakable. "Help me," Cassie gasped, her heart racing. Who are you?" "I am Adah," the voice whispered. "I was cursed and turned into this form by someone I trusted. Please, don't let your mother sell me. I need your help to become human again." Cassie's hands trembled as she gripped the edge of the bowl. She wanted to ask more questions, but before she could, a noise came from the other room, her mother stirring in her sleep. Quickly, she blew out the lamp and rushed back to bed, but her mind spun with what she had just heard. By morning, Na was already preparing for the market, wrapping the fish carefully in cloth. "Today is the day, Cassie," she said excitedly. "We'll be rich before nightfall." Cassie swallowed hard, knowing she had to stop this. As they walked through the bustling village, word of the golden fish spread quickly. By the time they reached the market, a crowd had gathered, merchants shouting their bids. 50 gold coins, 60, 70. The numbers kept rising, and Na's heart pounded with excitement. But just as she was about to accept an offer, Cassie grabbed her arm. "Mama, wait," she cried. The crowd turned to her in confusion. "We can't Sell the fish, Cassie continued, her voice trembling. It's not just a fish, it's a person. Her name is Adah. She was cursed, and we have to help her. The marketplace erupted into laughter. A cursed human? One merchant sneered. What nonsense is this? Another merchant scoffed. Girl, do you know how much money this fish is worth? You're throwing away your future. But Na wasn't laughing. She turned to Cassie, seeing the determination in her daughter's eyes. Cassie, she whispered, are you sure about this? Yes, Mama, Cassie said firmly. I heard her speak. Na's hands trembled as she looked at the fish. Had she been blinded by greed? As she stared into its eyes, she swore she saw something human within them, something pleading. Finally, she took a deep breath and turned to the crowd. I'm sorry, she announced. The fish is not for sale. The marketplace fell into stunned silence before outrage erupted. What do you mean you won't sell it? You're making a terrible mistake. You'll regret this. Ignoring their protests, Na clutched the fish and hurried away with Cassie. But as they left, 3 merchants huddled in a corner, their eyes dark with greed. If we can't buy it, one of them hissed, we'll take it by force. That night, as Na and Cassie prepared for sleep, a knock came at their door. But it wasn't a merchant, it was a kind man who had once been helped by Na. They are coming for the fish, he warned. You must leave the village now, before it's too late. Na's blood ran cold. Grabbing the fish and a small bundle of food, she took Cassie's hand. We have no choice, she whispered. We must run. With only the moonlight to guide them, mother and daughter slipped away into the darkness, carrying with them the only hope. Adah had left. With hurried steps, Na and Cassie slipped into the dense forest, their hearts pounding as they clutched the clay pot containing the golden fish. Behind them, the village was still alive with murmurs of the golden fish, unaware that its keepers had vanished into the night. The warning had come just in time. Had they stayed even a moment longer, the greedy merchants would have stormed their home, ready to take the fish by force. The forest was dark and filled with strange sounds, the rustling of leaves, the distant cries of night creatures, and the cool wind brushing against their skin sent shivers through them. But they had no choice. They had to keep moving. The merchants wouldn't stop searching, and if they were caught, Adah's fate would be sealed forever. After what felt like hours of walking, they stumbled upon an abandoned hut, hidden deep within the thick trees. The roof sagged under the weight of time, and moss covered the walls. But to Na and Cassie, it was a safe haven. We'll rest here for now, Na whispered, setting the pot down carefully. Cassie, though exhausted, couldn't take her eyes off the fish. She knew they couldn't hide forever. They had to find a way to help Adah. That night, as the forest hummed with life, something strange happened. The air inside the hut turned cold, and a soft glow appeared at the doorway. Na and Cassie sat up in alarm as an old woman stepped inside. She had long, flowing white hair, and her eyes sparkled like stars. A wooden staff rested in her hand, and despite her frail appearance, there was an undeniable strength in her presence. Do not be afraid, the woman said gently. The gods have sent me to you. Na and Cassie exchanged nervous glances. Who are you? Na asked hesitantly. I am a messenger of the gods, the old woman replied. I have been watching over you, protecting you from harm. I know why you are here, and I know what you seek. Na's eyes widened with hope. Can you help us? Can you break the spell and bring the girl back? The old woman nodded. Yes, but the path ahead will not be easy. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small bundle of glowing herbs. This herb will begin the transformation. Rub it over the fish and she will start to change. But there is one final step. Cassie leaned forward eagerly. What do we need to do? The old woman's eyes darkened with warning. The king must see Adah within 7 days. If his eyes do not fall upon her before the 7th sunset, the spell will never be broken, and she will remain a fish forever. Na's heart pounded. The king? But how will we reach him? We don't even know how to enter the palace. The gods believe in your courage, the old woman said. Follow this path. It will lead you back to the village. You must not delay. Time is running out. She handed Na the herbs. Then, as mysteriously as she had appeared, she vanished into the night. Na and Cassie looked at each other, their mission clear. They could not fail. With renewed determination, they packed their few belongings and set off toward the village, carrying the only hope that could bring justice to Adah. Lami's reign over the palace was built on deception and dark magic, but her time was running out. As King Obi's mind slowly cleared from the spell, whispers of her cruelty spread throughout the village. The people who had once respected her now feared and despised her. Even the village chiefs, who had remained silent for too long, finally gathered to confront her. But Lami, blinded by power, refused to listen. I am your queen, she roared. No one questions me. She punished Adah's parents, forcing them to work as servants in the palace, making them suffer for simply existing. Yet, despite her cruelty, King Obi's heart never truly belonged to her. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Na and Cassie were racing against time to restore Adah. With the help of the village palm wine tapper, they smuggled the golden fish into the palace. At the right moment, King Obi laid eyes on the shimmering creature, and as soon as he touched it, a miracle occurred. Adah transformed back into her human form before his eyes. The spell was broken. The king, now free, saw the truth of Lami's wickedness. But before justice could reach her, Lami fled to the old witch, seeking even darker magic to reclaim her power. The witch gave her one final charm, warning her not to look back as she returned to the palace. Yet, overcome by pride and vanity, Lami could not resist. She turned her head, and in that instant, the magic backfired. A dark force engulfed her, twisting her mind into madness. Laughing hysterically, she stumbled back to the village. Where fate delivered its final blow, a speeding cart struck her down, ending her reign of deception forever. With Lami gone, a heavy darkness lifted from the kingdom. The villagers, who had once feared her rule, now rejoiced in relief. The palace was no longer a place of sorrow, and for the first time in what felt like forever, laughter and light filled its halls once more. King Obi stood in the grand hall, his eyes filled with gratitude as he looked upon Adah, whose return felt nothing short of a miracle. He then turned to Na and Cassie, the two strangers who had risked everything to bring back his beloved queen. I do not know how to thank you enough, the king said, his voice filled with emotion. You have given me back my wife, and you have freed this kingdom from a terrible fate. Your kindness and bravery will never be forgotten. Nea, humbled by the moment, bowed her head. Your Majesty, we only did what was right. Adah did not deserve what happened to her, and we could not stand by while injustice prevailed. Adah stepped forward, her eyes filled with warmth and gratitude. You did not know me, yet you fought for me. You gave me my life back. That is a debt I can never repay. She took Cassie's hands in hers, smiling. You are braver than most warriors I have known. The king, deeply moved, made a decision. From this day forward, Na and Cassie will have a new home in our kingdom," he declared. "I will provide them with a large house and land of their own. Na will be given enough resources to start a grand farm where she will never have to struggle again." Tears welled in Na's eyes. "Thank you, Your Majesty. This is more than I could have ever dreamed." Cassie hugged her mother tightly, her heart bursting with joy. "We will finally have a good life, Mama," she whispered. That night, the entire kingdom celebrated. Music and dancing filled the air, and for the first time in a long while, the palace felt alive again. The villagers, once weighed down by fear, rejoiced in the justice that had been served. Adah and King Obi sat together, hand in hand, surrounded by their people, their love stronger than ever. As months passed, more joy came to the kingdom. Adah discovered she was expecting a child. When the time came, she gave birth to twin boys, bringing even greater happiness to the land. The celebration that followed was grander than any before, as the people welcomed the future heirs of the kingdom. Na and Cassie remained close to the royal family, visiting often and sharing in their happiness. Their bond with Adah grew stronger, and they became part of the royal household, no longer mere strangers, but family. Through kindness, courage, and the unwavering belief in justice, the kingdom found peace once more. Adah's story became a legend, a reminder that envy and deceit would always lead to downfall, but love, loyalty, and bravery would forever triumph. And so, the village thrived, the palace flourished, and the tale of Adah, the golden fish, and the power of righteousness lived on for generations to come.